We want to thank everyone for taking time out of their busy schedules to be here today and to kind of help collaborate with us on the discussion of dealing with homelessness in Arkansas Valley. We'd like to welcome you again to our community discussion on homelessness. In order to achieve a successful result, our goals are to foster understanding, empathy, and collaboration. We will begin by discussing safety concerns for individuals experiencing homelessness and the broader community. Next, we will open the floor for everyone to share their thoughts and concerns related to housing and homelessness. This is an opportunity to express your perspectives, ask questions, and listen to others' experiences. Finally, we will brainstorm potential solutions and ideas to address homelessness. This could include discussing affordable housing initiatives, social services, and community-based programs. In order to accomplish these goals, we ask that before you speak, we ask that you think. And that's just an acronym that stands for, is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? And is it kind? If we could please try to keep that in mind, I think this will be a successful event. So my name is Jason Key, and all these data I've collected for the past 10 years, this has been a subject that's been very personal to me. I do have a bachelor's in sociology and communications, and this was some of the data I used for my capstone project when I graduated. But these are the most recent statistics. Nationally, they found that response systems work effectively. The homeless response system continues to add more temporary and permanent beds each year. It increasingly serves more people but needs more resources to combat the nationwide affordable housing crisis. They discovered that there were record high homelessness counts. A record high of 653,104 people experienced homelessness on a single night in January 2023. This is more than a 12.1% increase over the previous year. They also discovered more people than ever are experiencing homelessness for the first time. From 2019 to 2023, the number of people who entered emergency shelter for the first time increased more than 23%. Record high numbers of people living in shelter, especially among individuals. In 2023, a record high of 256,610 people, or 39.3% of all people experiencing homelessness, were unsheltered. More than 50% of individuals experiencing homelessness were unsheltered. They also found that severe housing cost burdens are on the rise. The number of renter households paying more than 50% of their income on rent increased dramatically, rising over 12.6% between 2015 and 2022. People who identify as Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander, Black, Hispanic, Asian, or some other race are more greatly impacted. And lastly, they found backward movement. After years of declines due to targeted assistance, the number of veterans and chronically homeless individuals experiencing homelessness are both rising again, with a 7% and a 12% increase respectively since the previous years. For Colorado State of Homeless Report for 2023, the key findings were there were 14,439 total number of Coloradans experiencing homelessness, according to a point-in-time count. There were 17,957 students experiencing homelessness, doubled up or unstably housed in the 2021-2022 school year. 39% increase in overall homelessness in the last year, according to point-in-time counts. 134,197 individuals without stable housing covered by Medicaid in 2022. 30,409 people who accessed homelessness services in Denver between July 1st of 2002 and June 30th, 2023. And there was a 150% increase in people experiencing chronic homelessness over the last 10 years from point-in-time data. An exact count is difficult to determine due to many factors, including reliance on self-reporting and volunteers, count methodology, levels of community participation, and other influences. Overall, the coalition estimates that the true number of people experiencing homelessness falls somewhere in Colorado between 14,439 and 134,197, the number of individuals without stable housing covered by Medicaid. The key findings continue. They also found that 30,409 people who accessed homelessness services in Denver between July of 22 and June 30th of 23. They found a 150% increase in people experiencing chronic homelessness over the last 10 years with point-in-time data. Overall, homelessness in Colorado increased by 39% from 2022 to 2023. This was the fourth largest percentage increase in the country behind New Hampshire, New Mexico, and New York. Chronic homelessness has increased by 20% in the last year. Unsheltered homelessness increased by 50% in the last year. 25% of individuals experiencing homelessness are in a household with at least one adult and one child. Colorado had a 69% increase in family homelessness from 2,151 in 2022 to 3,641 in 2023. This was the most significant statewide increase in the nation. 1,265 people experiencing homelessness in Colorado report experiencing domestic violence. So this was a cost-benefit analysis I did, and interestingly enough, it was on 37 homeless people, and roughly we estimate that's about how many people we have living unhoused in Junta. So the cost-benefit analysis showed that paying for the homeless to have minimal housing, food, health care, and job counseling costs less than public cost of policing their street life. Over a 10-year period in Osceola County, Florida, a grand total of $5 million was spent on 37 homeless individuals. These 37 homeless people netted 1,230 arrests, resulting in 61,896 days in jail, at $80 a day, resulting in a cumulative price tag of $5,081,680. That same cost-benefit analysis showed that a far cheaper option than criminalizing and jailing the homeless is to provide them with permanent supportive housing. On average, permanent supporting housing units in Osceola County during that time cost $9,602 per year, which includes $8,244 for rent and utility subsidies and $1,358 for a case manager. In other words, each supported housing unit cost the county 40% less than what they were currently paying to put homeless residents in jail. And lastly, a more comprehensive study was done in 2004 by the Llewellyn Group. They issued the results of a 9-city survey that compared jail costs to emergency shelter and permanent supportive housing costs, among other things. According to the survey results, jail costs were 2 to 3 times higher than permanent supportive housing or shelter costs.
For coming, this is a fantastic turnout, and very much what we were hoping for when we got together to start organizing it. So thank you for being here. My name is Maureen Rickhoff. I am part of our community. This is the campus I work on, and I am on the La Junta City Council. But most importantly, Kristen called me and said that she was getting together a group of people, and I wanted to be a part of helping out with that. So we talked a lot about what is the difference between people who are experiencing homelessness as a personal issue versus those of us who are trying to address it and find solutions or other ways to help with it in our communities. And it's the fact that we have a community. It's the fact that we had family or friends or a support network when we were at a point in our lives where we were at risk of losing our safety nets and our structures. So in bringing everybody together, we think it's important to know a couple of things. We want to know who's in the room, but we also want to know, we want you to think about who's not in the room. And as we're doing some introductions, and no, we're not all going to introduce ourselves. That would take forever. So we're going to do some general introductions, but think about it when you see who's in the room, but also who's not in the room, and who needs to be at the table when we continue the conversation. All right. So if you heard it, just raise your hand. If you heard about today's meeting within the last 2 days and you decided it was important to come, raise your hand. All right. You knew about it longer than that. Great. How many people in the room call La Junta their home? All right. Raise your hand if you call somewhere other than La Junta your home. Okay. About half and half. Raise your hand if you're younger than 25.
I wish.
All right, we have a few. So noticeable lack of those hands. Raise your hand if you're older than 50. Okay. Raise your hand if you work full time. Raise your hand if you're seeking employment. If you're currently seeking employment. All right. Raise your hand if you're hungry right now. Kristen and I agree. We have definitely not had enough to eat. Raise your hand if your work is directly with the public. Police, fire, social services, health department. Fantastic. All right, raise your hand if you are a property owner. All right, raise your hand if you own a business. Raise your hand if you work for a governmental or a public organization. All right, and finally, raise your hand if you played a part in helping plan today's meeting. Oh, we all sat at the same table, so thank you. All right, we don't have time to introduce everybody, but I want to just take a minute, find somebody in the room that you don't know, introduce yourself. Make sure you learn each other's first name. If you have to get up from the table that you're sitting in, and you have to get up. 1 minute to introduce yourself to somebody you've never met before. Got up and went on a search for somebody you've never met before. Appreciate that. So the goal of today's meeting is to all of the questions, concerns, get an idea out on the table of what is concerning to everyone in the community around the issues of homelessness. And then taking what we learned today, and anybody who would like to volunteer to be part of an ongoing effort, we'll take what we learned today and figure out what to do going forward. So today is an important meeting because there is no agenda until we get done with today. So your input, your voice, and your participation matters today. We appreciate you being here.
Good afternoon. My name is Terry Smalling. I'm kind of a semi-retired, I'm old enough, minister with the Church of Christ. And when COVID came, we kind of stepped away from that and helped start this Kitchen of Kindness. And it's really been going well, and we're hope to continue to succeed in that effort. And what we have planned for you now is kind of an interactive activity to help us get on all the same page about what safety means. At least I should do this. And the idea is to gain a better understanding of what success related to this decreasing homelessness in our community looks like. And we want to have you as a group define safety. And so we've got you in tables about 5 to 8 or so, and there's some sticky notes on your table you should find. And what we're going to do is for 3 minutes, and we're being timed here, work with the group at your table and write down 3 characteristics in a community that define individual safety. We know we probably, a lot of us have different concepts of what safety means, but this will help us to get on the same page. And when you have your 3 words at your table, you can bring them up to the front and place them on the poster board on that side or over here. Okay. Any questions on that? Okay. Are we ready to begin? Or Kristen? Okay. All righty. 1, 2, 3, go. This is what you mean by individual safety. Okay, now we're going to do something slightly little different.
I would give people a few minutes to put stuff up.
Okay. As a group, we're going to take 3 more minutes to decide on 3 characteristics at your table to define community safety rather than individual safety. Okay, so there's a slight difference there. And again, when you have your 3 words, bring them up and put them on the poster board. Ready? Okay, 3 minutes starting now.
An idea of some of the themes that are already up here while you're thinking of community safety. We have shelter, security, food, having a door that locks at night, police presence, low crime rate, peace of mind, shelter, acceptance, security. Okay, talk amongst yourselves while I walk. Policing, no loitering. Take homeless to where they have ability to succeed. Jobs, housing, and medical. Let my children play outside without fear. Shelter, law enforcement, shared sense of values. Lack of material vulnerability. Exist without molestation. Enjoy community quality of life, amenities without anxiety. Being able to walk in your own community you support. Not being fearful. Awareness. Trash, syringes, etc. Home, family, money, trust. Some place safe to sleep and stay. Uninhibited access to social determinants of health. Drug-free community, and a reduction in crime rate. And now there's more over there. Talk amongst yourselves.
Resources, food, transport, shelter, inclusive policies, a more transparent city council, absence of fear or threat, law enforcement. What I got out of the two different exercises. Wasn't a whole lot of difference between the two, it didn't appear to me. Yes.
Well, I do feel like there was a little bit of a difference on maybe what's good for the community is good for the individual, but individual beliefs on what should be allowed to the individual or different in those two. Yeah.
Should be what?
They are different between the two. Like there's more of just a general broad definition in regarding a community versus like
Okay.
individuals.
A broader definition for the community rather than individual. I think the individual, of course, we want to be safe in our own homes and et cetera. Whereas the community, we want to be safe in the community. But the idea was to get an idea of what we believe the word safety means as we continue through this next couple of exercises, discussions. And so keep those words in your mind as we begin the next discussion, which will be led by Ashley Hernandez. And
hello, I am Ashley Hernandez. I am an active volunteer for the Kitchen of Kindness. I'm also the Kitchen of Kindness secretary. I'm also a local business owner downtown, newly downtown. So I do have experience with both personal want and need to do what's right for the community, but also being compassionate and caring for others in situations, but also realizing that there is not an easy answer always. Being a business owner as well, there are a lot of complications. So with that being said, we want to do this next exercise. What issues are you seeing or experiencing in the community related to homelessness? So instead of grouping in our tables here, we are going to split in half, and we're going to talk about what issues are most important to you. You did get 5 stickers at the beginning of walking in today. Feel free to, on these issues, what we're going to do is you can put all of your stickers on an issue if you feel that there's an issue that is most important that needs to get fixed first and foremost, and on the way down, or you can split them up however you would like, and we will look at how that looks with everybody's opinion on what are some of the issues that we are seeing. So we'll go ahead and split up. Everybody kind of just, we're going to work halfway down the room so we have time after this for people to share thoughts and concerns as well.
I would say coordination of services, so overlapping and not learning one helps someone, but I'm sure
Do you have an idea?
Whenever you have these ideas, just go ahead and go up to one of the scribes on the side and you're going to write it down. And then we're going to kind of just go from there with putting our stickers on the relevance of how we feel about that.
drug use.
Okay. Anything else that's not okay?
I didn't see property damage, house fires.
No. Okay, what else? Okay. Any other issues?
Big concerns here we have is crime and violence. We have the number one thing here that we're noticing is these three are pretty related. We have lack of knowledge for resource, lack of resources, and coordinating services seem to be very concerning for everybody here. Can everybody agree with that for the most part?
Yes.
Okay. Alright. Yes, okay, so, crime and funding would be next in line. Lack of housing, first initiatives, and lack of shelter. Okay. Alright, so that would be here on this side. Let's go over here really quick and then I'll go ahead and open it up for some communication please here.
Okay, so we have, do you want to go ahead?
Okay, lack of resources again is a pretty big concern over here. We have hate is another one, judgment, stigma, drug addiction. These are our main concerns over here on this side. So what we're gonna go ahead and do is we are gonna take these bits of information that we got from the community here and we're going to take that over into hopefully our task force where people are willing to find more solutions as well. So we can start with some of the biggest issues that need to be addressed first and so on and so forth. So right now we're going to open up the floor to let you express your concerns some. So what we'll go ahead and do is we're going to pass around the mic to those who want to speak on some of these concerns. We know that there's a lot of concerns and that there's a lot of people and not a ton of time, but we do want to make sure that you all are heard. Yes, so just go ahead and raise your hands and we'll go ahead and go from there as best as we can with the time we have.
Where are we at?
I mainly had a question for the gentleman that started this meeting, where he talked about the Florida study and the 37 people, and that housing, in a sense, was $5 million, and it was more expensive for police encounters with 37 people. I'm wondering, the 37 people that Florida housed for $5 million, were they ever encountered by the police? Did they live a crime-free life?
So no, the reason they were being arrested was for the camping ban. They weren't being arrested for other crimes. They were being arrested for simply trying to sleep outside or So, and that cost of $5 million was actually what it cost to put them in jail for those 6,100 and some days. Because what they did was, what generally tends to happen when these camping bans are enacted, and the studies were pretty much consistent all across the United States and all the cities that have done this, that you're issuing citations to people who don't have income. So what happens is they don't pay the fine, then there's a contempt of court citation, and then they end up getting arrested and put in jail.
No, I understand that, but my question is, those 37 people that would be housed,
Right.
did they live a crime-free life?
All I have are the statistics of what they were arrested for. I don't know, I don't have that data wasn't released. But what I will say is, I understand there's a great concern for crime, but most of the people I imagine that are in here, it's anecdotal evidence, which is it's personal, like you've experienced some crime from a homeless person. But that doesn't necessarily mean we have a crime problem with homeless people. I've looked at some of the statistics in Lahaina, not my own personal experiences, and most of the crimes are committed by people who are housed. I mean, the vast majority of the crimes. They're not committed by homeless people, and they're committed by juveniles, they're committed by adults that are already housed and have jobs, and so that's my concern with I understand the concern. I mean, I'm not saying that there aren't homeless people that aren't committing crimes, they certainly are. But part of that reason why they're committing crimes is they're unhoused. They don't have access to resources. And I'm not saying that's true in every case, I mean, that's not. But I mean, by and large, I would say from what I've found in my research, these people, it's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You have to have your physiological needs met before you can go to safety, which means finding a job and those kind of things. And so that's, the cities that are finally doing this, like I know California, there are cities that are doing this. They're offering affordable housing, like little houses. And there are people that are still refusing that, but a vast majority of the people that take them are stabilized and they get drug treatment. They gain their humanity back.
And California's bankrupt because of all of their social services.
Well,
there's more to it.
I mean, I don't know that for certain. I mean, you'd have to provide me with accurate statistics from a reliable source before I could accept that as a fact. What I'm trying to do, and I think what gets missed is people come in here, and this is what happens, is there's anecdotal evidence provided, which is means personal experience. It's not based on any real long-term studies. I mean, the statistics I provided was a 10-year study on a specific 37 people in a specific group. And the study showed that it is exorbitantly expensive because it's not free to put somebody in jail. And my thing is, my personal opinion is, the people that should be in jail are people we're afraid of, not people we're upset with.
Well, as a personal experience, I
For
would.
the sake of time, I'm sorry, we have to. We'll go.
Yeah, we need to go. Who's next?
So I just have a question for whoever did this study. The 13 people that were surveyed, how many of those people came from Los Animas, from Fort Lyon?
This
Because
is done at the Kitchen Kindness meal, and we don't discriminate.
So you don't know exactly where they came from? So if you want to get a real number, if you'd like to come and hang out at the laundromat Monday through Sunday, anytime after 5 o'clock, trying to think of what day the bus comes from Los Animas, drops them off at Safeway, then they come down and hang out at the laundromat. But the majority of the ones that I've talked to come from Los Animas, and it looks like Los Animas, they offer the clothing, the food, employment readiness, it's supposed to help with some substance abuse. So we've got this in Los Animas. We're close.
Where are you looking?
Well, and just all the questions that they were asked, the things
Los
that,
Animas?
there's nothing about Los Animas
Oh.
on this,
Well.
but the majority of them that come into the laundromat have left Los Animas. And that's a place that offers everything that we're trying to address and fix in Lahaina. But we've got to, why are they leaving Los Animas? That's already funded. So we've seen what it's done to Los Animas. And that's part of my problem is I think everybody needs help, but we've got, 20 miles to the east of us, we've got a housing facility for them. It's already, they've already found their funding, everything like that, but they're leaving for some reason and coming here. So.
Okay, thank you, that's helpful. Who else would like to share? I would like to. Yes, right over here. Now remember, we need to get everything documented. We're not looking for consensus, but we need to understand what the issue looks like if we're going to tackle it. And I know it can be hard to talk about. Go ahead, sorry.
My name is Randa, and I live outside the Fort Lyon gates, just outside the Homeless Coalition in Los Angeles. My family and I just recently experienced what happens when homeless comes into our community. A violent criminal who was being housed there at the coalition, within the month, this last month, attempted to break into my home. I'm very upset. They need, the safety is an issue. They're not telling us who they're housing here. A lot of the problems that these communities are having around here is due to the coalition, and they're releasing them from the program because maybe they're not, you know, doing what they need to do there, so they just let them out into our communities. They come here to La Junta, they go to Lamar, they cause problems. Like I said, I live outside the gates, and what they have done to me and my family emotionally just in the last month, it's ridiculous. I'm tired of this, and we need to stand up and we need to do something about this.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay.
Sorry guys, I'll be brief. I wasn't gonna say anything today, but my name's Ellie and I'm the internal MAT coordinator at Valleywide. I coordinate the MAT program for all of Valleywide, and I'm located in La Junta. And I definitely want to validate your concerns. You know, that's not okay. That should never happen. But I will say that I ended up at Fort Lyon, and I have a bachelor's degree from CSU at Fort Collins. And I was an alcoholic, and I used drugs, and I had a lot of trauma. And I was in a really bad place. And I found Fort Lyon, and now I am a homeowner. And I work at Valleywide and serve our community to the best of my ability. And I'm not saying that it's the solution for everyone. I'm not saying that maybe there should be a conversation around that Los Angeles and that community and what CCH can do to provide security for the residents and the people living outside. But I also want to advocate for Fort Lyon as a community, because I probably wouldn't be alive today, let alone serving all of you guys in my community, if it wasn't for Fort Lyon. And it's not just homeless criminals that live there, it's people that are homeless that have bachelor's degrees. So I just want to put that out there.
Hang on just a minute. I'm gonna go to you because you
I wanted to clarify, is this supposed to be a Q&A or just our opinions and what we observe?
Just your opinion. So this is really, we need to understand what the issue looks like from a variety of perspectives. We're not looking for consensus. We don't expect you to leave here with your mind changed. We need to know what you're seeing and what you need out of today. So just go ahead and share.
Awesome. So from what I have seen, I moved back here 3 years ago, and if I didn't have my family or support system, I would have been homeless. Just saying that right there. I work at the college, so I do work with a lot of Fort Lyon students, and I think the biggest thing that I see with homelessness and the issue is there's mental health education that we are not aware about, and then it's Maslow's hierarchies of needs. We need shelter, we need food, and we need to feel safe. I think the stigma of us versus them is really detrimental, and it's more of an adult baby. Virgin size, they don't know how to communicate, they don't know how to say what they need, but they need help, and we need to go at it with more compassion and open-mindedness versus, oh my gosh, you do drugs. Because guess what? I drink alcohol, and that's a drug too. Okay,
thank you.
We can only do one at a time. Sorry, everybody.
I
perspective because I am a full-time employee with the Otero County Health Department. I don't smoke, I don't drink. As you can tell from my physique, meth is not what's on my dinner table. So I have worked very hard to get where I am because I have been homeless. After the pandemic, with a credit score that was low from losing a job and having a car repossessed, if you don't have a bright, shiny 700 next to your name when they look for you, you're not getting anything, my friends. They don't want to help you rent a place. Fortunately, when I came back here, I was able to, with no employment, I was able to find a place to stay with Total Concepts, a wonderful organization that for me and my son housed us. I was helped with the community by friends that got me a hotel room and helped me find it. Thank you very much, Lay and Hands, friends of mine. Now, at the end of my time here, I've got myself a job and I make too much to stay where I'm living. For 11 months, I have looked for a place in this community that I can afford as a single parent. I cannot afford $1,400 for a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. I look every day and have since October of last year for a place for me and my son to live. And I can drive through this town and I see 1,000 for sale signs and no for rents. When I do see a for rent sign, it is me and 70 other people that are vying for a position and a place to stay. So in less than 30 days, I will be homeless too, and I can't even live in my van down by the river. So I'm not going to be stealing any of your stuff, and I don't plan on turning to drugs, and I'm not a violent person. But it goes a lot further beyond just the things that we see before us. I'm not a bad person because I can't find a place to live.
I'll give you a little different perspective. I'm the county coroner, and seeing all these are okay ideas, but one of the things that I have seen in this last 3 years especially that has to be addressed is, even for our county, we're at an all-time record high for suicides with overdoses and or alcohol and or drugs. The illegal immigrants that are around here are bringing in all the drugs they want from the southern border. We're seeing the M30 fentanyl overdoses that we shouldn't have. The homelessness continues to increase because of the people that I've covered have broken into unoccupied versus abandoned structures. They're happy to live in unsanitary conditions. There's lots of depression with those people, and what they don't talk about from law enforcement, the county, the city, the fire department, is dragging a lot of your resources down because of the number of ambulance calls or fire calls or on and on. There's no reimbursement for that. So that's adding to the inflation in the valley that people have to see. These aren't addressed with these issues. These other issues may be fine. We're not addressing a mental health issue. We're not addressing that southern border. Till we address those kind of issues, all this other stuff's not going to work. Thank you.
My name is Toby Tyler, and I'm from here, but I grew up in Los Animas, and I do remember in Los Animas we used to be able to walk around and send our kids and do anything at any time we wanted to, and they would feel safe. Felt like that here for a long time, but now I'm worried about my children and my wife on this walking trail. They have been harassed many times when they're out and about, so that's got to affect the business and the community. Now, I don't think we need to lump all homeless people or potentially homeless people into the same basket. There are those that are working homeless, or soon to be maybe, and those that want to be homeless, that want to be derelicts, I guess is the right word for me. And how do we distinguish between one and the other? I mean, there are people that, yeah, the rents in La Junta have pretty much doubled in the last, 2 or 3 years? And granted, the property owners can charge whatever they want, but there is a lack of affordable housing here. I used to own rental houses here, and it used to be that the rents would never go up for 10 years. And now all of a sudden, it's just exploded. Now, what's the magic? There is none. Unless we build more houses. But there are organizations out there like Total Concept, Lahana Housing Authority. I don't know what their regulations and the rules and their criteria are, but I think that's one place that maybe can be addressed. But unless we start building houses, and there is a difference between homeless people and the criminals. And that's what I want to concentrate on, is the criminal portion of this, and help the people that need help, that are willing to go to work every day and be productive, and get rid of the other ones that are problems. We don't need to build something that were to cost every property owner more taxes. We just came out of a budget crisis last year. We don't forget what just happened. I mean, where does this money come from? And if we continue to raise the rates and raise our taxes, we're all going to be homeless.
Thank you.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Steve Cordova, Executive Director at Total Concept and the Los Angeles-Fayette County Housing Authority. Thank you very much. We do what we can as far as providing housing for families in need of that at an affordable basis. For those of you who know, I'm actually sitting right next to our mayor in Rocky Ford, Dwayne Goulet, and we are building a permanent supportive housing complex, which was just talked about as well here. Now, those numbers that were described are extremely low. Services are required to be at least $7,200 per person per year. Our project, as we partner with Valleywide, is actually going to have service budget of about $250,000 a year for 30 people. The rent, as we all know, is not free, right? I've got to come up with the money. We've got to develop that project. Now, when we talk about building homes, how much does it cost to build a 1,000 square foot home? Anybody have an idea here? Throw a number out. $200,000 for a 1,000 square foot home. All right? So to build a $200,000 one bedroom home, which is about 1,000 square feet, right? How much do you got to charge for rent? It's not $300, guys. It's got to be enough to pay for the insurance, because that's not free. You got to pay for the utilities. That's not free. You got to pay for the maintenance. That's not free. You got to pay for the staff. That's not free. None of this is free. So needing resources is absolutely necessary. I can't even tell you how much per unit my project costs, because nobody here builds homes for that price. All right? So resources is what we need to continue to fund the resources that we already have here. We have Fort Lyon. We have the housing authorities. We have Total Concept. We have Section 8. And as I said, we are actually going to lose vouchers because HUD nationally is redistributing the money. I will have to cut about 1/3 of the entire families in my housing authority receiving a Section 8 voucher because we are being forced to be in shortfall by the federal government. Go vote.
For who?
For whoever is going to do what you want them to do. It does not matter to me whether it's a D or an R, but who are they focusing on? Okay? Be aware of the resources. They exist. Fund us. In 2017, we all approached the county commissioners of 3 counties and said, fund 2 small organizations to provide housing, and we had a couple of those county commissioners walk out of the room. Unless there is a political will and a public will, this isn't going to get addressed. It took me since 2019 till now to start moving dirt at the Western Apartments, and it'll take us a year to build it. This is not a 3-week process, people, and it needs resources.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna wrap up this portion. We're gonna move into solutions. So this is a big group discussion.
Have a long list of qualifications qualifications here that I put at the end of an email, but what I am is I was in the Fort Lyon program. I was a drug addict, alcoholic, criminal, all those things. I attended Fort Lyon's program from 2019 to 2022. I never committed any crimes after I got there. I understand that there are going to be people like that, and you know, I feel terrible about your situation. I lived at that place for 3.5 years, never saw anything like that. I will say this, you know, I think it's interesting too, you know, we have a jail in Los Animas, and the running joke is you can get in there as easy as you can get out, but no one ever talks about closing the jail down. And we're rebuilding one here, and you know, my thing is that's where we're going to put these people, and it's going to be like the situation Jason said. You're going to see that it's costing, you know, $8,000, whatever. It's just a waste. Here's what I see the solution to this is for this community. It's not about construction or any of that stuff. That's a nationwide problem. The problem in this community is you know, I've attended city council meetings, and I was shocked when I saw 7 people on the city council asking the director of Fort Lyon what exactly they do there. I mean, it's jaw-dropping to me that after 11 years, La Junta doesn't know what they do in Los Angeles. I've been here for 5, and I can tell you. And I appreciate that one person can say they do, but the fact that people are going, is it an overnight shelter? It's like, what the? That's what I think. You know, there are a lot of resources. There's Valleywide. There are a lot of people, you know, homelessness is a mental health issue, a lot of people say. My opinion is, with the numbers of 20% of people have alcohol and drug, I think it's about 75%. Here's what my problem was when I had an alcohol and drug problem. I didn't believe I did. So if you came up to me when I was homeless, I'd tell you that wasn't my problem. My problem was I needed money. I needed a house. And as soon as you gave me both of those things, I would go in there and get high and get drunk. And so you didn't solve my problem. I don't know if that makes any sense. So, you know, some of these solutions, I think you're talking to people who don't understand. It's almost childlike. You know, we don't take a child and go, hey, what do you, well, these days we kind of do, but we don't ask them what the solution to their problem is. We show them. And then I think, you know, when I was really happy to see the lack of knowledge of resources. You know, we have all these, I talked to the chief of police for 15 minutes. He had no idea what to tell a guy. All he knows is to write a citation. But if you can say, hey man, we got a place Fort Lyon, we got a place Valleywide, if you need some mental health, maybe you get a prescription you need or whatever it is, and you get people going in those directions, then you start to find out that you don't have to keep kicking them off the sidewalk or seeing them come out of jail and go, I know he's gonna be on that bench again, right in front of the courthouse. Everybody knows that guy, right? Everybody knows that guy in this town. Well, he's in jail right now. Where do you think he's going to go when he gets out? You know, these things are just so cyclical, and it's sad to me because it is simple solutions, but as a community, we have to come together and go, hey, I work at the hospital. I know where I can get a guy into detox. And then when he detoxes, he can go over to TRT. I mean, I know these things. I'm just a guy who lives on San Juan Street. You know, came out of Fort Lyon however many years ago. But it's like, this is simple solutions. And again, you know, then you're going to go bureaucratic on it, and it's going to be these things like Steven just said. In 2019, he starts with this construction. He can't start till 2024. It takes him 1 year to build it. It takes him 5 years to get the permit. I mean, it's just sad. It really is, because these solutions are there. I'm living proof of it. You know, I know more people who stayed in this community who are successful graduates of Fort Lyon than I do people who are out committing crimes and doing all these things people think people from Fort Lyon did. And all I know is just Fort Lyon. So I'm sorry to go on and on.
Quick question. What percentage of Fort Lyon is actually being used?
Don't know that. All I was a resident. I'm just a resident. I'm not an advocate. I don't get paid a dime. That's all I am as a
all of it.
So it's 100% of capacity? You have no room for anybody?
They have room, but it's all being like utilized if people apply. But we don't just drag people there. They go.
No, I'm just wondering. Are you at 100% capacity?
Here's my thing. I'd like to get back on the topic. I'll stay and talk to you until midnight tonight.
So we have
let's get to
10 minutes total. So let's take 4 minutes to get other solutions. We don't need to discuss them. Just what other solutions do you have in this room? And then the last 5 minutes we'll talk about next steps.
Here's our question today. What solutions would best address homelessness in Benton County, Otero County, and Crowley County? And if you'd like to talk to me about Fort Lyon afterwards, I'll stay all night. That's all. Thanks.
am I?
Yeah.
Yeah, you do it.
What are we doing?
So my name is Amber and I work at Valley, and one of the biggest solutions we could have is being empathetic to humans and treating them like they are a human, not putting us versus them, trying to help the people with the small resources we have, like Kitchen of Kindness, going to the peer house, things like that, helping them apply for jobs, seeing what's out there. Maybe they need help applying for Social Security disability because they don't have access to a computer. So instead of making it us versus them, or what they're doing to our community, like being more empathetic and like showing some compassion and helping somebody find those resources, that might be a great place to start as a resource.
Thank you.
I can relate to all sides of this issue. I see it, I've lived it, I kind of know it firsthand, but one of the things the public's really not aware of is, we've got a lot of really good rock solid landlords in our community, but we also have some that are probably, you could call them slumlords. And I've been getting phone calls for the last 6 years of people without power, without electricity, falling through their floors, and then they get kicked out because the landlord finds out they called somebody. So until we start holding some of these people accountable, it's just going to keep on happening. This is probably a small wedge of the problem, but it's still part of the problem. So hold them accountable, make them upgrade their housing and stuff, and these people won't be on the streets living in their car or just flat disappearing.
I think another solution that we could do similar to the peer house or Kitchen of Kindness is having various support groups to come and meet them, as well as having our community members come to those as well to be educated on the mental health issues that they might be having and different resources that they can learn about if somebody needs them.
This is a solution, but I would like to think that this is maybe a step in the right direction. So this was just supposed to be a kickoff meeting to see where we are in our interests and where we all feel about the opinion of the unhoused in our counties. And I'm thinking that from all of the information, the strong feelings that we have in here, we can create a task force, and then going off of like what Steve Cordova said with like resources, some of the issues that we have with our resources is there is a lack of awareness or access to them. So let's get this task force started and at least start that direction of saying, what do we already have? How come people don't know about it? How can we boost that for people? Or how do we make it more accessible for those that don't know that it exists and they would benefit greatly from them? And then we can also break up into smaller groups and address the things that have to do with substance use prevention, mental health. There are other people that are homeless besides, there's a whole spectrum. But I mean, don't forget, there are kids in our communities in every single county that are also homeless, and they are what we call couch surfing. And they are bouncing from house to house, living with friends, relatives, whatever, whoever will let them stay the night. And we have a wide variety of people who are affected by this. So let's, instead of fighting about who's right, who's wrong, whose opinion's better, who we should vote for necessarily, but working more close to home, since this is what we're talking about, is addressing our homelessness issue.
Good solution. Get it started.
All right, yeah, so I'm kind of following D on that and in that same place of really increasing awareness and doing that through a homeless task force, which I see would be best made up of community members. So that awareness needs to go both ways. So we need to be able to provide those awareness of the available resources to those people, so they know, what is available, where they can go, what kind of help they can get. I also see awareness really needed on all of us. When I think about fear, what causes fear? It's uncertainty, it's not knowing. I'll tell you, one of the things that makes me afraid out in the community is when I see someone open carrying a firearm. That makes me afraid for myself, my wife, and my daughters.
Really?
But what breaks that fear is when I actually talk to the person and ask them, what makes you carry that? And then, they kind of respond, well, I'm protecting my family against someone who might want to harm me. So then I say to myself, well, I'm not that person, I'm not the one who wants to harm you, so therefore I have nothing to fear for you having that gun, because it means you're not going to use it against me. And that is done through understanding, through awareness, and it's usually done through just talking to people. So I see that the homeless task force helping our side of the awareness as the other community members is by understanding who they are, where they're from, what they're doing, what their plans are, and getting that side of the information. So that way we can understand, is this a Rocky Ford local? Is this a Lahana local that graduated class of 1982 who is, went away and came back home to the only place that he's known as home and he's going through a tough time? Or is this truly someone who was sent on a bus from Denver with $20 and a map to say, go to this community because, you'll find that you will no longer be in our problem. So we understand who they are, what they're doing, what their plans are, and we get both sides of the awareness spread. That's where I'm at.
Thank you, Mayor.
How much more time?
I share the third Wednesday of every month at the library is what's called the Regional Resource Roundtable, where different people come together and talk about the resources in the community, and anybody's welcome and you can come and find out what resources are in the community. Also, anytime you want to maybe help somebody who's struggling with homelessness, you can send them to Pier 613, Pier 404. That's what we do. We help them find the resources that they need and the support that they need.
Thank you.
Larry Herrera, Rocky Ford. I dealt with this for quite a while, 3 years. Is there anybody in here between old enough to know better, from 1969 to 1975? You know what went on then, right? The same problem that happened then is happening now. When our veterans came home from Vietnam, they got treated like shit. And it wasn't their family, it was the communities that they came back to. They called them baby killers, all that stuff, So I piss off a lot of veterans because I did the homeless vet for 3 years in Denver. And my biggest problem was identify your homeless. Identify who they are, where they come from, what they need, what they want. Because if you talk to our Vietnam veterans, a lot of them won't tell you nothing. They'll shut down on you. And then the ones that went to the service with my era, 79 to 2010, 27 and a half years, come back, war heroes. A lot of them that are homeless, you talk to them, they're war heroes. They did 2 years in the Navy, but they're war heroes because they joined. We can't categorize everybody in the same spot, but I had to deal with it, and it drove me nuts, and PTSD took over, so I don't do it no more. But I'm good now. But if you identify where they come from, who they are, and what they need or want, it's a lot easier to deal with them, to deal with anybody. Because they'll tell you exactly what they want. Someone will tell you, leave me alone, don't bother me. You can't force somebody that don't want help. You can't force them. You cannot make them do what they don't want to do. And that goes in life, but military is a little tougher. The VA has all the resources. They got all kinds of resources. And if you ever did the VA at 9th and Claremont, the VA hospital 9th and Claremont, they had a lot of issues with people coming in there and thinking, well, I served a year, 2 years, or 10 years, or 27 like me. And you walk in there and you say, well, the VA owes me this. Why society puts that on me? I did my time, 27 and a half years. The military owes me this. It's not the way to think about it. You say, make yourself move forward, and you'll get it done. That's it.
We have time for one more.
For City of Junta, and I am fully aware of all the resources in the valley, and I've helped multiple people try to get help. And I agree with Steve in the lack of the funding for the resources, because I've helped people try to get access to those with no luck. almost every time. And it's from family members to friends to people I don't know. There was a 75-year-old woman living in the park for months. She had maggots in her car. There was an individual that stayed in touch with her and got her housing in Los Animas, but everywhere else we called, we couldn't get any help. And she had lived in her home for 30 years, and her landlord kicked her out. Whatever conditions she was living in, I'm not sure, but she was homeless and now she has a home. But the resources weren't there.
Councilperson, been dealing with this issue for about 5 years now from citizens calling in various complaints. We talk about not knowing who our resources in the room are. I've been in here since 2 o'clock and I haven't had anybody identify whatever agency, whatever resource that they're from unless they're individually speaking. I was hoping to walk away from here with at least some type of guide to know who the people are in this room that can help with the situation. Because for 5 years, had people complain about broken windows downtown, vandalism in the cemetery, shoplifting, scraping of human feces from their place of employment so they could walk in or their customers have. And yet, we talk about nobody knowing the resources, and there's a ton of dots up there. Communication's a two-way street. I guess I'm starting that communication and having the people and the resources in the room identify themselves and not there sit there in some type of with being anonymous, because that's what you are. Because at no time in any city council meeting in the past 5 years did we come and say, hey, we can maybe deal with that. Maybe this gentleman's having a mental issue, a crisis at this point that we can assist him with. Didn't get issued a crystal ball. Don't know who you are in the room. So please, how many resource agencies are in the room right now? Please raise your hand. Yeah, I'm not saying there's individuals, but unless they're speaking. But why not as a whole? Why doesn't their resource guide available? I mean, have you ever, you've identified yourself as the kitchen of kindness. So I think we need, I'm starting that conversation. Present yourselves a resource guide or something so we know who to lean into. So if we do have a situation, and then we can move that on to the chief of police, because they're going to start needing those resources for one way, shape, or another. Thank you for your time. I didn't mean to keep any.